The research station Halcyon 12 floated silently in orbit above the gas giant Tyros V. It was a peaceful place, a home to scientists and engineers from many species across the galaxy. Among them was a human named Eli Grant, a repair technician, with a calm nature and a love for old Earth music. Eli liked working the night shift. It was quiet and fewer people were around. But recently, someone else had also started using the station's science deck during those hours. An alien biologist, named Cyrillin, a member of the mysterious Veyari species. The Veyari were tall, elegant beings with glowing eyes and skin that shimmered like starlight. They rarely spoke and communicated mostly through thought-sharing with others of their kind. Cyrillin was different, though. She had come alone to study plant life from different worlds, and she mostly kept to herself. Eli had seen her several times, always quiet, always focused. She didn't seem to notice anyone else. But Eli noticed her, not just because she looked different, but because something about her felt still, like calm air before sunrise. One night, while replacing a coolant tube near the lab entrance, Eli looked up and saw Cyrillin observing a glowing Terran flower in a glass case. Her eyes glowed gently, her long fingers tracing the curve of the petals without touching them. Eli hesitated. He wasn't sure why, but he felt like saying something. Maybe it was the way the light fell on her face. Maybe it was how peaceful she looked, or how she always worked alone. He cleared his throat softly. "You're beautiful," he said. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. They weren't meant to make her uncomfortable. They were simple, honest, and quiet, just like the moment. Cyrillin turned to him slowly. Her eyes, usually calm and unreadable, flickered slightly. She tilted her head, the way someone might when they didn't understand a question. "I do not understand," she said finally, her voice smooth but uncertain. Eli blinked. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything strange. You look peaceful, graceful. That's beautiful to me." Cyrillin stood still for a moment. Then she gave a short, polite nod, turned away, and returned to her study. Eli sat back against the wall and sighed. "Smooth Eli," he muttered to himself. "Real smooth." The next day, Cyrillin didn't come to the lab during her usual hours. Eli tried not to think about it. He focused on his work, fixing wiring, checking oxygen filters, replacing broken panels. But his mind kept drifting. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything, he thought. Maybe I made things weird. He didn't see her the day after that either. But on the third night, she returned. Eli was in the same hallway, working on a cracked floor vent when he heard soft footsteps. He looked up and saw her walking toward the lab again. She paused near him for a brief second, then entered without a word. Eli smiled to himself. Okay, maybe I didn't mess everything up. Inside the lab, Cyrillin stood before the same Terran flower again. This time she wasn't just watching. She was recording notes on a small pad, but her eyes flicked toward the door for a brief moment, toward Eli. Something had changed. That night, when he finished his shift, Eli walked past the lab again. He peeked inside. Cyrillin was still there, and this time, she looked up and met his eyes. It was only for a second. No words were spoken. But it wasn't cold. It wasn't distant. It was different. Eli didn't know what it meant. Maybe she was curious. Maybe she was thinking. Maybe beautiful wasn't a word the Veyari used often, or at all. But something had started, a spark, not loud, not fast, not fiery, just a quiet spark in the silence of space. After that quiet night, Cyrillin returned to her quarters deep within the research station Halcyon 12. Her room was small but neat, filled with data pads, scientific books, and strange plants from many worlds. But tonight, her mind was not on her studies. She sat alone, staring at a hollow screen filled with images and words, human poems, paintings, and stories about beauty. She did not understand the word beautiful. In the Veyari language, there was no exact translation. Their culture did not speak about beauty as humans did. For the Veyari, everything was about purpose, balance, and connection. To be beautiful meant to function perfectly or to serve the community well. Personal feelings, especially about appearance, were not common. The idea of calling someone beautiful simply because of how they look or how they make others feel was strange. Sierra Lynn tapped the screen and read a poem aloud in her soft voice, practicing human words. You are beautiful because of your light, your kindness, your strength. She repeated the phrase over and over. Her mind tried to hold on to the feeling behind the words. A warm feeling, like sunlight through leaves. She remembered Eli's calm voice and gentle eyes. Maybe beautiful was not just about looks. Maybe it was about something more. She wanted to understand. The next morning, Sierra Lynn went to the station's cultural library. It was a large room filled with data, crystals, and holograms from many species. She searched for books and recordings about human emotions. Eli was working near the ventilation shaft when he noticed her passing by, carrying a small data pad. He smiled and waved, but she only nodded in return. Still, something was different. She looked less distant. That day, Sierra Lynn watched humans closely. She saw how they smiled when they were happy, how their eyes lit up when they talked about something they loved. She saw how humans helped each other, often saying kind words like, "Thank you," or "You're amazing." She tried to remember all these new ideas. At night, Sierra Lynn sat in the garden dome, a place filled with soft green plants and gentle lights. She held a small flower from earth and looked at it carefully. "It is simple," she whispered to herself, "but it makes people happy." She touched the petals lightly and thought about Eli's words again. Beautiful. It was more than just a word. It was a feeling, a connection. She wished she could feel it herself. Eli was fixing a broken panel when Sierra Lynn approached quietly. She hesitated, then asked in careful human speech, "Eli, why do you say, 'You're beautiful'?" Eli looked up, surprised but pleased. "Because it means I see something good in you. It's a way to tell someone they are special, not just in looks but in who they are." Sierra Lynn listened carefully. "In Veari, we do not say such things. We show care by helping and working together, but your words, they carry light." Eli smiled softly. "That's because humans use words to share feelings. Sometimes just hearing kind words can make someone feel stronger." For a moment, they stood quietly, understanding each other without needing more words. Over the next few days, Sierra Lynn continued her research, but also tried to learn human ways. She practiced smiling, though it felt strange at first. She observed Eli's gentle gestures, the way he helped others, the way he listened carefully. One evening, Eli found a small drawing left on his workbench. It was a simple sketch of a glowing flower with the words, "Beautiful Light," written beneath it, in Sierra Lynn's careful handwriting. Eli's heart warmed. "She's trying," he thought happily. That night, Sierra Lynn sat by the window of her quarters, watching the stars twinkle far away. She thought about the strange new feelings inside her, warmth, curiosity, and something like hope. She realized that understanding beautiful was more than learning a new word. It was about opening her mind to feelings she had never known before. And maybe in doing so, she was becoming more than just a scientist or a Veari. She was becoming herself. The days on Halcyon 12 passed slowly but surely. Eli kept working as the station's repair technician, fixing machines and systems that kept the station alive. Sierra Lynn, the quiet alien biologist, continued her research on alien plants and creatures, often sitting alone in the science lab. Though their conversations were few, the small moments they shared began to build a bridge between their very different worlds. Eli was careful not to crowd Sierra Lynn. He knew she was still learning how to understand human feelings, and he wanted to give her space. But he could not stop noticing the little things she did, small acts of kindness that spoke louder than words. One evening, Eli found a broken toolkit on the floor near the lab. The tools were scattered and some parts were missing. He was about to get frustrated when he noticed a small note next to the kit. It was written in careful human language. "I fixed what I could. Hope this helps." Cyrillin Ely smiled. It was not perfect, but it was kind. He picked up the tools and thanked her silently. Later, Eli started to notice other small signs. Sometimes, when he arrived at the lab, he found his workbench cleaner and better organized. Other times, a cup of hot tea would be waiting for him, left quietly on a nearby table. At first, Eli thought someone else was playing a joke, but he soon realized it was Cyrillin's way of showing care. She was trying to speak the language of kindness without words. Eli decided to return the gesture in his own way. One day, he brought a small book of Earth poems and stories about friendship and shared it with her. He left it on her work table with a note. "For you, to help understand us better." Cyrillin accepted the gift carefully. She did not speak much, but her eyes shone brighter than before. Despite these small connections, the silence between them was sometimes awkward. Cyrillin tried to smile, but it looked strange and stiff. Eli laughed softly once and said, "It's okay. You don't have to smile like humans do." She tilted her head. "How else can I show kindness?" Eli thought for a moment. Sometimes a simple touch can mean a lot. A hand on the shoulder or a gentle pat. The idea was new to Cyrillin. Her species rarely touched others except in special rituals, but she wanted to try. One late night, the station's lights flickered suddenly. A small power failure caused an alarm to sound. Eli and Cyrillin both rushed to the control room. Working side by side, Eli explained the problem. "We need to reset the power core. Can you help me check the circuits?" Cyrillin nodded and moved closer. As they worked, their hands brushed against each other. Eli looked up and smiled. "See? Sometimes a small touch can say a lot." Cyrillin's cheek shimmered faintly, a sign of her feelings. She reached out and gently placed her hand on his arm. It was awkward but honest. After the emergency passed, they stayed in the control room for a while. Neither spoke much, but the silence was comfortable. Eli said quietly, "You're learning fast." Cyrillin smiled, a little more natural this time. "Because of you." Days later, Eli found a small gift on his desk, a simple crystal that glowed softly. It was a Veyari token of friendship and trust. He held it carefully and looked around, hoping to catch Cyrillin's eye. She was watching him from across the room, her eyes bright with a new kind of hope. The slow and quiet dance of friendship had begun. Neither knew where it would lead, but both were willing to take the first steps. For Eli, it was a chance to show the power of kindness. For Cyrillin, it was the start of something new, a world beyond the cold logic of her people. The peaceful routine on Halcyon 12 was suddenly broken one evening. The station's main reactor, which powered the entire facility, began to emit strange warning signals. Red lights flashed throughout the halls, and alarms rang loudly. Eli was near the engineering bay when the alert sounded. He grabbed his tools and rushed toward the reactor room. As he ran, he saw Cyrillin already moving quickly in the same direction. She had heard the alarms too. The two of them arrived at the sealed maintenance tunnel that led directly to the reactor core. The emergency locks hissed and closed behind them, sealing them inside. "This is bad," Eli said, checking the control panel. "The reactor is overheating. If we don't fix this soon, the whole station could lose power, or worse." Cyrillin nodded, her glowing eyes sharp and focused. She did not speak much, but her presence gave Eli strength. They began to work side by side, each handling different parts of the repair. Eli rewired the damaged circuits while Cyrillin used her knowledge of alien technology to stabilize the cooling systems. Minutes passed slowly, and the heat from the core made the air thick and heavy. Sweat dripped from Eli's brow. Cyrillin's shimmering skin pulsed faintly with the effort. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the tunnel. A loose pipe started leaking steam dangerously close to the exposed wiring. "Careful," Eli warned. Cyrillin moved quickly, using a tool to clamp the pipe shut. Her quick thinking saved them from a serious accident. Eli looked at her with deep respect. "You're amazing," he said quietly. Sierra Lynn's cheeks glowed softly. I am learning, thanks to you. The reactor's temperature climbed dangerously close to the critical limit. Eli knew they had to finish fast. Working together, they reached the last step, resetting the core's main control panel. It required both their skills. On the count of 3, Eli said. 1, 2, 3. They pressed the buttons simultaneously. The reactor hummed, the temperature slowly dropping. Relief washed over them. After the emergency passed, the maintenance tunnel doors opened. They stepped out into the cool air of the engineering bay. Neither spoke for a moment. Then Sierra Lynn reached out and gently touched Eli's hand, a simple gesture of gratitude in her culture. Eli smiled warmly. That means a lot. For the first time, Sierra Lynn allowed herself a small smile. It was shy but sincere. In the following days, the incident became a quiet turning point. The station's crew heard rumors of how the human and the alien worked, together to save Halcyon 12. But for Eli and Sierra Lynn, something deeper had changed. Their bond was no longer just about curiosity or kindness. It was built on trust, courage, and respect. Eli found himself looking forward to the quiet moments with Sierra Lynn, and she in turn sought his company more often. One afternoon, Eli found Sierra Lynn in the garden dome, carefully tending to a rare alien plant. He joined her quietly, watching her gentle hands. Do you remember the night in the tunnel? He asked softly. She nodded. I do. It was important. Eli smiled. You showed me something that night too. The meaning of strength and calm. Sierra Lynn looked up at him. And you showed me courage and friendship. They stood together, surrounded by soft green leaves and glowing flowers. Eli realized that sometimes true connection did not need many words. Sometimes it was found in shared challenges and quiet moments. And sometimes it began with a simple phrase, "You're beautiful." After the emergency on Halcyon 12, the quiet connection between Eli and Sierra Lynn grew stronger. They spent more time together, sharing small conversations and learning from each other's worlds. One calm evening, they sat in the station's garden dome. Soft lights flickered over the plants, and the air smelled of fresh leaves and earth. Flowers! Sierra Lynn turned to Eli with curiosity in her glowing eyes. Eli, why did you say I was beautiful? Eli smiled gently, surprised by the question but glad she asked. It's a simple word for humans, but it means a lot. When I say you're beautiful, I see something special about you, not just how you look, but who you are. Sierra Lynn listened closely. It means kindness, strength, and something deeper inside. It means you make the world better just by being in it. Her eyes widened slightly. In Vayari culture, we do not speak like this. We show respect by actions, not words. Eli nodded. I know, but words can help us connect. They carry feelings and hope. When you said yes to helping me in the tunnel, or when you smiled, that was beautiful. Sierra Lynn was silent for a moment, thinking, do you think I can be beautiful in your way? Absolutely, Eli said with a warm smile. You already are. That night, Sierra Lynn tried to understand this new feeling inside her. She thought about beauty, not as a rule or duty, but as something personal and true. She looked at herself in a small mirror, studying the shimmering skin and glowing eyes. For the first time, she felt proud, not because of her species or her work, but because of who she was becoming. The next day, Eli showed Sierra Lynn a simple human tradition. He pulled a small music player from his bag and pressed play. Soft music filled the air, gentle melodies from earth. Sierra Lynn closed her eyes, letting the sounds wash over her. She felt calm and something more, a strange warmth in her chest. Music, she said slowly. It speaks to the soul. Eli nodded. Yes, it's another way humans share feelings. They spent the afternoon sharing stories about their worlds, laughter growing between them like a gentle fire. In the following days, Lynn began to use human words more often. She practiced saying beautiful and kindness aloud, sometimes smiling when she said them. Eli watched her with pride. You're learning, faster than anyone I've met. Lynn blushed faintly. Because I want to understand you. One afternoon, Lynn invited Eli to see a small painting she had made. It was a delicate image of a glowing flower surrounded by stars. I painted this for you, she said softly. Eli took the painting carefully, moved by the simple beauty. It's amazing. It means light and darkness, Lynn explained, like your words. Eli smiled. Thank you. It's beautiful. Their friendship deepened, built on trust and new understanding. They shared moments of joy, quiet, support, and the gentle discovery of feelings neither expected. For Lynn, the word beautiful had become more than a mystery. It was a promise of hope and connection. For Eli, it was the beginning of something more than friendship. The days on Halcyon 12 grew warmer with the coming of the gas giant's distant sun. Lynn found herself changing in ways she had never imagined. The quiet alien who once only observed now sought to connect, not just with Eli but with the world around her. She practiced speaking human words each day. Sometimes she stumbled, but Eli was patient, always encouraging her. One morning she stood in the garden dome holding a small brush and a blank canvas. She had begun to paint, an act almost unheard of in her culture. Painting allowed her to express the feelings she could not yet fully explain. Eli watched her from a distance, smiling softly. Your work is beautiful, he said. Lynn looked up, surprised. Again, this word. Eli nodded. Because it fits. One evening, Lynn invited Eli to her quarters. The room was filled with small paintings, sketches, and delicate sculptures, each one showing something new, something personal. I am learning, she said quietly. Not just science, but feeling, Eli nodded. That's how we grow. She smiled shyly, then took a deep breath. There is a word in my language now, she said. A word I created. Eli looked curious. It means seen and cherished. It is for the feeling when someone understands you deeply, not just your body but your heart. Eli's eyes brightened. Can you teach me the word? Lynn nodded and said softly, Velya. Eli repeated the word, enjoying its sound. Velya, I like that. The new word became a secret between them, a symbol of their growing bond. It was more than language. It was a feeling made real. Lynn began speaking more openly. She laughed, with Eli, told stories about her life among the Veyari, and even shared fears she had never voiced before. Eli listened carefully. He knew trust was rare in her culture, and he felt honored. One afternoon, Eli found Lynn sitting quietly near the star observation deck. The distant gas giant shone brightly outside the window. She looked at him and said, Eli, you have changed me. He smiled. You've changed me too. They sat together in silence, sharing the peaceful moment. Days turned into weeks. Lynn's new voice grew stronger. She no longer feared expressing her feelings, and Eli no longer worried about misunderstanding. Their friendship blossomed into something deeper, something neither had expected but both welcomed. One evening, during a station gathering with many species present, Lynn did something unexpected. She stood before the crowd and spoke in clear human words. You are beautiful. The room fell silent. Her species, the Veyari, gasped softly. Such personal expression was almost unheard of among them. But Lynn smiled and continued. Beauty is not only form or function, it is kindness, courage, and connection. The crowd listened, amazed. Eli watched proudly, realizing that Lynn had become more than just an alien biologist. She was a bridge, between worlds, between hearts. The hall was quiet but filled with tension. The gathering on Halcyon 12 had grown, large. Aliens of many species had come to hear the words of Lynn, the Veyari biologist who had surprised everyone. Eli stood beside her, his heart beating fast. He watched her carefully, This moment was important, not only for Sierra Lynn, but for everyone present. Sierra Lynn's glowing eyes scanned the crowd. She took a deep breath and spoke clearly in human language. "You are beautiful." The crowd gasped softly. Among the Veyari, such personal expression was rare. But Sierra Lynn continued, her voice steady and calm. "Beauty is not only what we see with our eyes. It is kindness, courage, and the light we share with others. It is the courage to be different and the strength to open our hearts." Her words hung in the air like soft music. Aliens from many worlds listened, moved by her honesty. Eli felt a deep pride. The girl who once did not understand a simple human. Word had now changed an entire culture's view. The Veyari elders whispered among themselves. Some looked confused, others thoughtful, but all realized something new was happening. Sierra Lynn smiled at Eli and whispered, "Thank you for teaching me." Eli smiled back. "No, thank you for showing me what beauty really means." After the gathering, many came forward to talk with Sierra Lynn. They asked questions about the human way of feelings, about kindness and connection. For the first time, the Veyari began to see beyond their traditions. They began to understand the power of words and emotions. Eli and Sierra Lynn's friendship had started something much bigger than either had expected. Days later, Eli and Sierra Lynn stood outside, looking up at the swirling clouds of Tyrus V below them. "It feels different now," Sierra Lynn said softly. "Like I am no longer just part of my species. I am my own person." Eli nodded. "That is the power of connection. It changes us." She looked at him and said, "You called me beautiful when I did not understand. But now I see. And I want to say it back." Eli smiled warmly. "You already have." Under the distant stars, two friends from different worlds stood together. They had bridged the gap between species, language, and culture through kindness, patience, and a simple human word. In the vast galaxy, where many looked for power and conquest, Eli and Sierra Lynn had found something stronger, understanding, and in that understanding, they had found beauty.